Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are finally going scouting for, well, it's my first time, Mark's second time, but we're scouting a new area. Not really a new area, we've hunted there before, it's just been a few years since we've hunted it. So the place has changed significantly, so we're going to be checking out entirely new areas, and we're going to bring you guys along and show you how we approach new habitat and try to figure out where we're gonna hunt this season. So hopefully we find something cool, and you guys can learn something from this, and maybe we'll be able to learn something too, because we're always learning.
I hope I learn where the big bucks are.
That would be nice. Let's see what we can find.
Dude, that is a big deer.
And he didn't even go 30 yards.
Oh my god. That was the first buck I've ever shot.
Woo! What a rush.
Money. That deer is dead. Tagged out, baby.
You shot one?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
I saw him go down.
Switched it up, got rid of Mark. I picked up a hitchhiker, goes by the name of Luke. We're gonna spread out in here and try to figure out different areas. And the way we like doing things is basically we'll go to a few different spots, put out cameras, look for sign, and try to figure out where the deer are. If we find an area that has a pretty good amount of deer, then we'll focus on that. So we're gonna put the boots on the ground, try to figure out some of these spots, and hopefully be able to come back in a few weeks, maybe about a month, let the camera soak for a little bit, and figure out what we have, and then determine where we're gonna hunt from there. Now, if I do find some really good scrapes or rubs that are like their community rubs, then I'm gonna go ahead and put a camera on it, and I'll potentially set up a preset so that in the event that something happens where we can't come back, at least I have something to go to. So hopefully we can find some deer sign. Right now in this part of Florida, they're not in rut, they're pretty much going into it, so we should see some pre-rut activity. Kind of expecting to see some deer chasing here as we move along this area. Hopefully we can capture it on film so we can share it with you guys. A little button, a little spike. Cute little buck. So this area back here that we're scouting right now, it's pretty wet. We just went through a pretty gnarly puddle, and we're about to go through another one right there, and there's another one over there. Oh, I think that's a panther. No, that's a bear.
Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw him?
Yeah.
So, but So far we bumped 2 bucks. One was a small 6, and then we just saw this one. Looked like could have been either a 6 or an 8. Little basket rack, but at least the buck ratio out here seems to be pretty good. And 2 bucks and a bear. We're gonna keep going. What we're trying to do is hit the further spots first, and then as we work our way back, find something closer. But at least if we go further, we know we have battery to get back. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, what up?
We're heading back to the Jeep.
You guys are done?
Done with this area. My bike died.
Oh shit. It's using that much juice, huh?
No. Battery didn't die of charge.
Stopped working?
Hours. I don't know. Weird.
That sucks.
Super annoying.
I'm way back in here. I found a pretty good scrape with a rub, put a camera on that. I just set a load of buck sign back here, but it's like super thick, and I'm just wandering around trying to find some areas that are a little more open that also have buck sign. But it seems like this buck wants to stay in the pit, so I might just have to go at it like Mug.
Yeah, we seen 2 bucks, a 6-pointer and what may have been an 8, but I ended up not putting a camera there. It's like nasty thick shit, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this nasty thick, but it's thick. Like I would only be able to shoot like 10, maybe 20 yards.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty thick over here. It wasn't like
So you guys are heading to another spot?
Yeah, we're going up to the front, dude.
All right, cool.
Just wait for effort to be hunting back here.
I just wanted to make sure that you guys weren't like almost done. I'm still moseying around.
No, we're actually gonna go back to Luke's truck and grab his Crocs.
All right.
And then go to the front.
All right. Hit me up later. Later. Yeah. So the first thing I'm thinking while walking through this habitat is like, this is way too thick. For this particular area, there's a lot of predators, a lot of bears, a lot of panthers. And you know, when you're walking through this stuff as a deer, it's just too easy for a predator to get the jump on you. And honestly, same goes for if you're walking through here as a human. So got my eyes peeled, but so I think that's why I'm not seeing much deer sign. But it opens up out here, and I got a feeling I'm gonna start seeing some potential scrapes and stuff like that. So just got to make it through this thick part. Hopefully find some good deer sign. Yeah, as I was saying, as soon as I got to where it opened up a little bit, see it's starting to open up here. And there's the first rub. So drop a pin on that on the hunt stand. I started off at that rub that I found, which is basically at the point of this funnel. I just walked down the whole west side of that. I didn't find any other rubs. And generally speaking, these bucks are walking tree lines, edges. So I worked that whole edge. Now I'm gonna work the other edge back towards that rub. And I wish I had noticed it before, but this side looks way better. It's all pines and, you know, way better hunting trees. And I always say there's really no point in scouting spots you can't hunt anyway, so I always try to focus on places that have trees that I can get into. So this edge is going to be way better for that. So hopefully the bucks are actually walking this edge. And since they weren't walking the other one, there's a good chance I'm going to find some good stuff here. These are the exact kind of spots where our high pine camo comes in handy. As you can see right here, it's really open, but there's a few tall pines. I mean, look, it's wide open in all directions. These are the kinds of places you can get up in those trees, high up in those pines, and you still are covered. You still, have that camo pattern to break up your silhouette. But in this area, deer love these open areas because it's easier for them to avoid predators. So I'm gonna go check around some of these pines and see if there's any good sign around them. This right here is what I like to see. Check that out. I just figured, let me go check this tree line. And here we have an old rub on the right. See how it's kind of healed up? So that's an old rub. And we have a fresh rub right there and a scrape underneath it. So this means that there's probably some older deer here that are at least a year old, because they were probably rubbing on this the previous year. So I'm going to hang up a scrape dripper right here, and there's a beautiful tree right there. I can get a mile high. This is awesome. This is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. I actually just realized there's a mineral hole right next to this scrape. So if I come back and check these cameras, I might just dump some mineral in there. For those of you who say that we don't put in the work, that we're just lucky, you guys have seen it. I had to go to 3 different areas to find this one scrape / rub. And I've got my scrape dripper right there, dripping into the scrape. I opened it up a bit with a palm frond, and my camera is right there. So if you're out here scouting and you find a setup that looks like this, don't put your camera in the same tree, please. You know who you are. Now let's go find something. Hey guys, so I just got finished scouting, and I found some really good stuff, but you know, it's really difficult to show you guys while we're scouting how we're going about it, because we don't want to show you us just walking around, and so we're only showing you when we find things. So it's kind of hard to portray like how we go about actually finding our signs. So I'm going to try to explain that just real quickly, so that as you guys are watching this, you don't have the idea that we just constantly are just stumbling upon sign. Like, it actually takes a lot of work. So what I usually do, and Danny might say something different, but what I usually do is, it all starts with the cyber scouting. You know, I look for transition areas. I look for changes between, say, like a prairie, like a grass prairie, or like a palmetto flat, and a tree stand. So, and when I say tree stand, I don't mean the kind you sit in, I mean a stand of trees. You know, out here in South Florida, there's a lot of palms and pines. Now, we really like to hunt out of pines. You can get really high up. For us, when we're using the camera, just because we're so high up, it allows us to move around a little bit more than you might if you didn't have to worry about getting the camera pointed in the right direction. So we just really like hunting pines. And so what I look for is, I look for stands of pine bordering open flats, because I want to be able to see a deer coming from a long ways away. Now, that's not everybody. Like Mug, for instance, he loves to hunt in the tight stuff. He wants it to be like the deer can only go one way and it's within 20 yards of him. Personally, I like to find well-used trails along an open field or prairie that's going down an edge that I can sit on. So first I look for that when I'm cyber scouting, and then I drop a couple pins in those spots. And when I go scout, I am targeting the spots that I believe are gonna hold sign. And if I get there and the like pinch point, like the best looking pinch point that I dropped a pin on, doesn't have the sign that I'm looking for, I don't just go wandering around, because you can spend a lot of time doing that and waste a lot of energy. It is way too hot for that here in Florida. So if I don't find at least something close to where I dropped that pin, I'm not going to bother searching through the area, because I've scouted enough that I kind of know where to expect to find sign. So so I did that several times today. I actually found a couple spots that I was excited about. I got out there, I saw deer, but I couldn't figure out where they were moving. And if they're moving all over the place, it makes it really hard to ambush them. You want to find a place where they're, they have a pattern. They're walking the same trail over and over again. So that's what I was looking for. So the first spot I went to, I found a little bit of sign, but just not enough to get me excited. So I ditched it. I went to another area. Didn't really see much other than trails. Eventually I did spot a doe, and there was a hard tree edge a little further down. So I walked a couple 100 yards to there, and I started seeing what I was looking for. What I'm always looking for in this particular area is young pines that are dispersed in a prairie, because they make a perfect spot for deer to scrape. So if they find one of those and there's like a bit of sand underneath it, they're probably going to scrape there, or they're going to rub on that tree. So I'm walking around looking for those trees, and you can actually tell from far away, if you know what you're looking for, if it's a scrape or a rub, because the deer will start to, when they're rubbing on it or when they're hitting that licking branch, they'll start killing the bark and some of the pine needles, and they'll turn brown. So you can see, from far away if a tree's been affected by that kind of activity. So I wander around, I look for that along these hard edges, and in a lot of cases today I found scrapes, I found rubs, but they were in places that were either really thick, or they were just like there wasn't a tree nearby that I could hunt from. And I'd really like to get in a tree, especially with the camera. It is so difficult to self-film from the ground. So I left those spots and I started looking around them, exploring those hard transition areas near the scrapes and rubs that I found. And I ended up finding an area that I'm really excited about, where I've got 3 scrapes with rubs, and I ended up kicking up a buck right there. So pretty happy with what I found. So I'm done for the day, which is good because it is hot. Danny's still out there. So hopefully you find some good stuff for you guys to learn from as well. If you guys want to learn how to scout, every year we put on a scouting workshop together with backcountry hunters and anglers. And it's actually, like, by the time you guys see this, it's probably going to be this weekend. It's on July 9th. So I hope you guys see this before then. And if you're able to make it, come join us in Jupiter at Riverbend Park. We're going to be cooking up an awesome lunch. There's going to be a brisket battle. Danny's making a brisket. Andy Outdoors is making a brisket. And I think we might have a third person making a brisket. Going to be lots of snacks. BHA is raffling off some stuff. If I remember correctly, we are raffling off a 3D target. We're going to be selling our merch, so if you guys want to get your High Pine shirts, we're going to have them there. BHA is going to be having merch as well. In the morning, we're going to split everybody up into groups at 8 o'clock, and then we're going to go into a nature preserve, and we're going to teach you guys how to look for sign. Like, we're literally going to take you along on a scouting mission to show you what we're looking for. And it is so much easier to learn that way than it is for us to show you on these videos. So I really hope you guys can make it. Last year people really enjoyed it, and I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. So hopefully you guys can do the same. So go to the link in the description and RSVP for that event. And we hope to see you guys there.
All right, so we've been going around for a little while and we haven't found much, but we just recently found a pretty good rub over here. Unfortunately, it's not a rub line, but we walked around this area, we're finding a lot of tracks and a lot of deer sign. So we set up this scrape over here. We got the dripper up here. I set up a mock scrape, and we're gonna go ahead and we got the camera over here on this side. And what you want to do is whenever you're setting up a camera, you want to make sure that any vegetation in the area that's going to grow up during that time, pat it down so that it's not in the way. Also, you want to make sure that if there's any palm fronds that might break, just get rid of them. Like this. That's the best way to do it. That one's still a little green. Alright. So you don't want to take a saw and remove anything like that, but if you use a jiu-jitsu, you can get some of it out of the way. Here, there isn't really any trees in here that we can hunt, but we can always hunt on the ground, or we can hunt one of the trees on the perimeter and catch the deer coming into this area. I mean the rub we got here. Pretty good sized rub. It's definitely from the season. So, alright, we're gonna go check it for another spot nearby. See what else we can find.